Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start the conference and in order to avoid any disturbance during the conference later, I would like to ask you to stay muted. Please rename your Zoom's display name accordingly to your role. For presenters, please add letter R followed by your room's number and your full name. For session chair, add SC in the beginning, followed by R with your room's number and your full name. Thank you. The Honorable President of Association International Business and Professional Management, Lim Gaisin, PhD, and the Vice President, Ira Christiana. The Honorable, our co-host, Faculty Economics and Business, Universitas Brawijaya, Malang. The Honorable, our co-host, Faculty Economics and Business, Universitas Mahasaraswati Denpasar, Bali. The Honorable, our co-host, Kwik Kiangi Institute of Business and Informatics, Jakarta. The Honorable Mr. and Mrs. Presenters, lecturers, distinguished guests, fellow participants, ladies and gentlemen. I am Rosalia Raudatul Afifah, the MC for today's conference. I'm very pleased and honored to be here. First of all, I would like to welcome you all to this prestigious conference, the 2023 Malang International Conference of Project Management, held by Association of International Business and Professional Management, attended by people around the world, including Indonesia, Malaysia, India, Belarus, Peru, Nigeria, Pakistan, Iraq, and Poland. On this occasion, we will have insightful presentation from prominent speakers across the countries, whom I believe shall enrich our knowledge regarding the theme of this conference, connect with global business and the global community for management and creative professionals. We also want to thank Faculty Economic and Business, Universitas Brawijaya Malang, Universitas Mahasaraswati Denpasar Bali, Kwik Kiangi Institute of Business and Informatics Jakarta, who have contributed and supported this event. Ladies and gentlemen, before the conference begins, I would like to invite all of us to listen to the Indonesian national anthem, Indonesia Raya. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to let all of us to see the AIBPM's profile video, Faculty Economics and Business Universitas Brawijaya's profile video, and Faculty Economics and Business Universitas Mas Saraswati Denpasar profile video. Also, Quick Yangi Institute of Business and Informatics profile video.
This is a really nice conference so far. This is probably the best conference I've ever joined, because the speakers are from not only from Indonesia but also from South Africa. I think it's just from various countries, and also thank you for the committee for giving me the time.
Universitas Brawijaya is one of the leading universities in Indonesia with more than 60,000 students in various degrees. It is awarded an A accreditation by a National Accreditation Agency for Higher Education and granted the 4th best university in Indonesia based on 4ISU World University Ranking. Universitas Brawijaya has 15 faculties, in which Faculty of Economics and Business is the best faculty. Malang Economic University, or as known as MEU, the embryo of Faculty of Economics and Business, was established by Malang Economic Higher Education Foundation on June 27, 1957, with Notary Decree No. 26 dated on August 15, 1957. Malang Economic University merged into part of Universitas Brawijaya and was called a Faculty of Economics on October 3, 1961. Years ago, and Faculty of Economics never stopped improving itself. It was on January 14, 2011, an institutional transformation was created from Faculty of Economics to Faculty of Economics and Business. This became one of the cornerstones of fundamental change and a necessity due to internal developments as well as changes in the organization's external demands, including changes in the organization's environment. scientific development, and demands for international accreditation towards the world-class faculty. Faculty of Economic and Business, Universitas Brawijaya mission statement is becoming an internationally reputable higher education institution in economics and business, which produce graduates possessing entrepreneurial spirit, humanity, environment, and spiritual awareness, and develop knowledge and technology in order to serve society through education and research based on local and universal values. Currently, Faculty of Economic and Business, Universitas Brawijaya has 3 departments with 14 study programs, consisting of undergraduate and postgraduate programs.
So the Economic and Business in University of Brawijaya, I got special experience here. While studying class, I feel the dynamic learning and teaching activities. Among there is many cultural and language differences between us, but also we have the great opportunity to see many science perspectives from local and international students.
The way we learn in the Faculty of Economics and Business Universitas Brawijaya isn't always within the classroom. We have the opportunity to apply our knowledge into the actual business or economical activities, such as Entrepreneur Days, where we were asked to create our own business and present it. We also have company visit to gain insights on the actual industry.
Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Brawijaya continuously improve its quality by transforming and creating positive contribution to produce graduates who are capable of facing global competitions and serving society.
Untuk mengembangkan sumber daya manusia yang unggul di bidang perekonomian, FEB Unmas Denpasar hadir sebagai salah satu perguruan tinggi yang telah mencetak berbagai lulusan akademik yang profesional di bidang perekonomian dan bisnis. FEB Unmas Denpasar pada saat ini memiliki 4 program studi, yaitu program studi manajemen yang terakreditasi A, program studi akuntansi yang terakreditasi B, program studi PSDKU Mataram yang telah terakreditasi baik, dan program studi magister manajemen yang telah terakreditasi B. Untuk menunjang proses pembelajaran dan menciptakan lulusan yang profesional, FEB Unmas Denpasar dilengkapi dengan berbagai fasilitas, di antaranya ruang kuliah, ruang aula, ruang baca, dan ruang pertemuan. Adapun fasilitas umum yaitu toilet, tempat parkir, fasilitas kesehatan dan keamanan, dan layanan kampus. FEB Unmas Denpasar juga aktif dalam melaksanakan kegiatan organisasi kemahasiswaan yang dinaungi oleh BEM dan BPM Unmas Denpasar. Pengabdian masyarakat dan bakti sosial FEB Unmas Denpasar sebagai bentuk implementasi dari Tridharma Perguruan Tinggi, yaitu pendidikan, penelitian, dan pengabdian. FEB Unmas Denpasar telah bekerja sama dengan berbagai universitas luar dan berbagai instansi untuk mengembangkan jejaring serta meningkatkan mutu perguruan tinggi. FEB Unmas Denpasar telah menorehkan banyak prestasi dan menerbitkan berbagai jurnal serta karya ilmiah.
I love the teachers. They are all good professors. Some of them are doctors and good at their own subjects.
Mari membangun jiwa wirausaha bersama Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Mahasaraswati Denpasar.
Mari bergabung bersama kami. Let's join us.
Selamat datang di Institut Bisnis dan Informatika Kwikiangi atau IBI KKG. Sebelum kita ngomongin tentang program studi, ayo kita ngobrolin tentang suasana kampus di IBI KKG. Di kampus IBI KKG terdapat 6 program studi yang dapat kamu pilih sesuai dengan minat kamu. Ada akuntansi, manajemen, ilmu administrasi bisnis, komunikasi, sistem informasi, dan teknik informatika. Program studi manajemen adalah salah satu program studi pertama di kampus IBI KKG mendapatkan predikat akreditasi A. Terdapat 3 bidang konsentrasi di dalam program studi manajemen, yaitu manajemen keuangan, manajemen pemasaran, dan manajemen sumber daya manusia. Program studi akuntansi di kampus IBI KKG mendapatkan akreditasi A, dan terdapat 3 bidang konsentrasi, yaitu perpajakan, audit, dan akuntansi manajemen. Program studi ilmu administrasi bisnis memiliki 3 bidang konsentrasi di kampus IBI KKG ini. Ada kewirausahaan, bisnis digital, dan bisnis internasional. Program studi sistem informasi di kampus IBI KKG memiliki kurikulum yang dibangun di atas 3 bidang utama, yaitu teknologi informasi, manajemen, dan bisnis, yang menekankan pada pola berpikir logis, membaca pola data, dan merancang sistem yang dibutuhkan dengan mempelajari teknik pemrograman. Program studi teknik informatika IBI KKG memiliki kurikulum yang khas karena dibangun di atas 3 bidang utama, yaitu teknologi informasi, manajemen, dan bisnis. Program studi komunikasi di IBI KKG memiliki program studi yang menarik loh, ada Broadcasting and Marketing Communication. Yuk, tunggu apa lagi? Kami akan menyambut kalian sebagai keluarga besar Institut Bisnis dan Informatika Kwikiangi. Kami tunggu kedatanganmu.
Next, we will have the Vice President of aibpm, Ira Christiana, to deliver opening speech.
Good morning, everyone. It is a great privilege for me to present the 2023 Malang ICPM Conference to the authors and delegates of the event. We hope that you will find it useful, exciting, and inspiring. The 2023 Malang ICPM Conference is a prestigious event organized with a motivation to provide an excellent international platform for the academicians, researchers, industrial participants, and students around the world to share their research findings with the international business expert. In the 2023 Malang ICPM Conference is attended by around 150 participants from Indonesia and 200 plus participants from overseas, such as India, Malaysia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Pakistan, Peru, Libya, Singapore, and etc. The 2023 Malang ICPM Conference aims to provide opportunity for the global participants to share their ideas and experiences in person with their peers expected to join from different parts of the world. In addition, this gathering will help delegates to establish research or business relation, as well as to find international linkage for future collaboration in their career path. The 2023 Malang ICPM Conference outcome will lead to significant contributions to the knowledge base in this up-to-date business and managed field in scope. Therefore, on the day of completion of this journey, we are delighted with a high level of satisfaction and aspiration. The responses to the call for paper had been overwhelming, both from Indonesia and from overseas. We would like to express our gratitude and appreciation for all of the reviewers who help us maintain the high quality of manuscripts included in the proceeding. We also like to extend our thank you to the members of the organizing team for their hard work. We are now optimistic and full of hope about the 2023 Malang ICPM International Conference. I would like to say thank you to all the keynote speakers. Dr. Miguel Cardova, Pontificia Universidad Católica del Perú, PUCP Peru. Dr. Firdaus Ahmad Malik, National Institute of Public Finance and Policy, India. Associate Professor Dr. Desi K. Mui Hung, University Science Malaysia, Malaysia. Dr. Farsa Argawal Atlas Skill Tech University, India. Profesor Dr. Dra. Nurmijati, SA, MTM, CPHR, Universitas Brawijaya, Indonesia. Thanks for the committee teams, our co-hosts, faculty, Economic and Business, Universitas Brawijaya Malang, Universitas Mahaswaraswati Denpasar Bali, and Quick-Kengi Institute of Business and Informatics Jakarta. All section chairs, MC and moderators for the fully support. Thank you all for your support and dedication to make this conference happen. We appreciate that the author of the 2023 Malang ICPM may want to maximize the popularity of their papers, and we will try our best to support them in their endeavor. Let us wish that we will have a wonderful time in conference. I'm Ira Christiana, the head of ICPM committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the great opening speech, Mrs. Ira Christiana. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are very pleased to announce that the international conference is officially opened. Welcome to the 2023 Malang International Conference of Project Management. Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we also would like to invite you to share the pictures taken to your Instagram and give hashtag 2023 Malang ICPM and hashtag info for academia. And the best Instagram post will get free entry to our next conference. We also invite you to follow our Instagram at info for academia and our YouTube channel, aibpm Talk Series, which can give you an update of our events, publication opportunities, and the video of our conferences. At long last, ladies and gentlemen, this is the time for me to introduce the keynote speakers for today's conference. Our keynote speakers are Dr. Miguel Cordova, Pontificia Universidad Católica del Perú, Dr. Firdaus Ahmad Malik, National Institute of Public Finance and Policy, India, Associate Professor Dr. Desi Kim Wei Hung, University Science Malaysia, Dr. Farsha Agarwal, Atlas Skill Tech University, India, Profesor Dr. Dr. Nurmijati, SA MTM CPHR, Universitas Brawijaya, Indonesia. In order to start the conference, please welcome our moderator today, Anisatul Istighfaro. Ms. Anisatul Istighfaro, the time is yours.
I will be the moderator for today's conference. First thing first, I will announce the rules and presentation time before I start to introduce the keynote speakers. Today, we will have 5 keynote speakers that were mentioned by Ms. Rosalia before. So the conference rules include first, all online participants will be muted during the presentation. Second, there will be a Q&A session after the keynote speakers finish their presentation. Third, and the last one, the moderator has the authority to choose who will deliver the question or suggestions. Before I start, I would like to inform you that each keynote speaker has 20 to 30 minutes of presentation, and if the keynote finish the presentation during that duration, a Q&A session will be held. But if there is no question, we will be holding another Q&A session after all the keynote speakers' speech is finished. Now, Please welcome our first keynote speaker, Dr. Miguel Cordova, Pontificia Universidad Católica del Perú, or PUCP, Peru. Dr. Miguel Cordova is an associate professor of management at Pontificia Universidad Católica del Perú, an internationalization leader for the management department and management school at PUCP. He holds a PhD in strategic management and sustainability from Consorcio de Universidades in Lima. He has doctoral studies at Copenhagen Business School and an MBA from Centrum Católica. His research is oriented to sustainability, sustainable supply chain management, power and influence in organizations, corporate governance, entrepreneurship, and international business. He serves as country director Peru at the Academy of International Business, or AIB, for the Latin America and the Caribbean chapter. And he is also a vice chair of resources at the Teaching and Education SIG of the AAB Global. Now, for Dr. Miguel Cordova, the time is yours.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I'm so happy to be here with you. It's always a pleasure for the aibpm community. And I'm going to share my screen to begin my presentation. It's right here. Please let me know if you can see properly.
Yes, we can see your screen, Dr. Miguel.
Thank you very much. Okay, the title of my presentation is Power and Influence in Organizations. It's one of my research fields that I was developing so many years ago. And such as the subtitle probably is The Corporate Network of Interlocking Directorates. So our agenda is a brief introduction of the topic. Then we are going to talk about relational power. After that, I'm going to explain you what are these interlocking directorates and how they are quite connected to the strategy in companies. And finally, we are going to conclude with some final remarks of the presentation. So first, as an introduction, we know that talking about power is probably uncomfortable, right? It's not, I mean, it's not a topic that we usually talk. And of course, we usually relate this topic of power with the manipulation, some sort of negative practice. But actually, across time, human beings being after power, they are always searching for different sources of power. And also, and this is a researcher that I usually cite, that is Dr. David Kellner of the University of Berkeley in the United States. He says that power dynamics is not only in politics or where the money is, or even in military operations, but it's actually everywhere. So power is this kind of social force that gets us together, and it's quite important for us to understand how it works in the society and how important it is for every social interaction. Okay, so what is power? Power is this with which we achieve that others have some kind of behavior that otherwise they would not have adopted. So that's, I mean, this is the meaning from the book, and probably is the reason why we are why we tend to relate the concept of power to manipulation. But actually, as we were saying before, power is a strong relational power, a strong relational force. Power emerges from the relationship between two or more people. I mean, it's there is necessary two people or more to create this kind of power relationships among them. Power has a social function, actually. It organizes communities. I mean, we need power to enforce some kind of behavior, some kind of conduct from individuals in society. And it's very helpful for these societies to organize markets and for the entire world. So we are going to explain then how power becomes a relational force. And we are going to explain what is relational power. Relational power comes from the generation of social networks. And what are social networks? These social networks are structures that includes some nodes that could be individual groups or even organizations that are linked. They are tied by these connections. It's lines that are connections that could be links or ties, any kind of any type of relationship between these individuals, groups, or organizations that get them together. That is a social network. And why is so important? I'm going to begin this with a brief story here. By 1930, Carinti was proposing some hypothesis about how far could be a person from another one in the world, and departing from this kind of calculations of populations growth and populations measurements, the result of the hypothesis was that any people from any part of the world is separated from another people in any other part of the world by maximum of 6 separations degrees, or 6 links in between. So that was like just a proposition from some calculations that he did. But after this, Travers and Milgram in 1969 proposed an experiment trying to test this hypothesis of Carinti, and they deliver a package from any from some individual in the United States. This experiment was in the United States, and they choose some individuals to deliver a package to other individuals, just without having the name, but just having the profession or the occupation of the target people. So, for instance, if the package says that they need to send this package to someone that is a lawyer, okay, so probably they are engineers, they don't know any lawyer from the university they studied, but they have a cousin in New York that studied laws, and he's a lawyer, so they send the package to him, and this individual receives the package, read the instructions of the experiment, and put his name, his location, and send the package again to another person that he believes he could be more near or knows directly the target person that they are after, that they are looking for. I can't remember exactly the details of the experiment, but it was something like that. So at the end, they trace all the packages that complete the circuit. I mean, from the point of the beginning and to the target person, because many of them failed in the middle, right? They didn't complete the processes, but there were several that complete the whole process of the experiment, and they discover and they actually validate the hypothesis of these 5, 6 degrees of separation between these 2 individuals, randomly selected, right? But they found an important concept here. Besides testing the hypothesis of Carinti, Travers and Milgram found that there were some people, some individuals that received the package more than one time. So that means that those individuals were actually trusted or were selected as intermediaries by more than one people that thought that they could be more near from the target person. So they developed this concept and called these individuals that receive many packages, big linkers. So that was the emergence of the concept of big linkers. And actually in the management literature, big linkers means that there are some people that are strongly connected in the network and that have many connections, and many other people or many other organizations use these people or these organizations as an intermediaries to get resources, to obtain resources. Okay, after this, in 1973, Mark Granovetter was arguing that these ties that get together, the nodes, they are different from each other. Okay, he says probably these ties are not equal to each other, so we need to test how could be the differences among them. And he discovered basically two types of ties: the strong ties and weak ties. The strong ties were the relations that some individuals have with their family, for instance, or with their very close friends, right? That's why he called these ties as strong ties. And weak ties were the relationships with friends that you can probably see once a day or once a week or twice a week, right? They are not family, but they are friends. Okay, and the contribution of Granovetter here was that different ties could bring different types of resources. So he discovered, of course, that, for instance, strong ties could deliver specific resources such as trust and support. And weak ties are able to bring another kind of resources such as information, capital, financial resources, and many others. And I mean, you can think about your, for instance, your family meetings, right? When you get together with your family, with your cousins, with your, I don't know, your uncles, parents, and so on, probably every weekend or I don't know, you usually talk about the same stories, right? The same situations, and probably make the same jokes, right? So the information that flows within your family group is almost the same. Okay, but this group has some strategic resources such as trust and support, reliable support. But on the other hand, when you get together with your friends, and I don't know, when you play tennis or you swim or you are in some kind of voluntary organization or an NGO or something like that, you get together with these people, and the flow of information is non-redundant, it's new. So you can obtain new information from different spheres in the society, from different activities and from different economic sectors. So that's why Granovetter argued that weak ties are professionally more important than strong ties. Yes. Okay. And after this, Ronald Burt in 1992 established that there's not only importance in the type of relationships, but also in the absence of relationships. And that's quite rare, because actually we could think about that it's better to be connected than non-connected, right? But Ronald Burt said that this kind of holes, this kind of emptiness between nodes are strategically important, because forces the nodes to find some way, some intermediaries to connect to each other. Okay, if we are far from an individual or from an organization that we need to connect, we are going to need some other individuals or other organizations in the way to connect with that organization that is far from us. So he told us that this kind of emptiness between the nodes creates the importance of these intermediaries, and also promotes that the information and resources that flow all over the network could be non-redundant. Imagine the other side of the history, that all nodes in the network are fully connected to each other. All the entire network is completely fully connected. It could be very similar, like a family group, right? Well, where all know each other and tell the same jokes and tell the same stories and so on. So emptiness within the social networks are quite important too, ironically. Okay, we're just getting to the end of our story. So Newman in 2002 discovered that this kind of social networks actually using these weak ties and strong ties and this structural holes, this emptiness between the nodes, they have the power to transmitting or to diffuse some specific business practices, techniques, managerial practices. And he uses this viral contagion models, viral contagion perspectives to argue that social networks behave the same way. Of course, we all remember COVID and how COVID-19 spread so easily and so fast, right? So how some viruses spread all over networks are the basis to think about how these managerial practices could also be spread and diffused all over social networks. And Newman called this the social contagion theory within social networks. And after that, and as a final step in our story, Jeffrey Pfeffer in 2010 said, okay, if the social networks has this potential to bring some new resources and some non-redundant resources, and also has this kind of diffusion potential, right? This is spreading potential to multiply this managerial practices all over many organizations, all over the network. So social networks are a source of relational power. That's what the conclusion. And to measure how important could be relational power, we have three basic measures. The first one is centrality power. Centrality power talks to us about how many individuals or organizations are directly linked to a focal individual. For instance, we are here in P1, here in the middle of this network, and we have several connections, and we just need to count how many connections we have in order to know how much centrality power we hold, right? Okay, so it's just a measure of quantity. The next measure is the intermediation power that we in social network analysis called betweenness. As we were explaining before, being an intermediary in the social networks, it's important because other people are using you to connect or to get to reach other persons or other organizations in the networks, right? So you have this kind of intermediary role. So that's about the intermediation power, which individuals or organizations are indirectly linked, maintained through. So how many organizations are using you to connect with other organizations? And as we were saying before, this could be a big linker, for instance, a person, an individual, or an organization that has intermediation power because this group of firms need it to reach this other group of firms. Okay. And the final measure of relational power is influence power, and we call it eigenvector. Okay, but it's about influence. And it tried to respond which individuals or organizations are directly linked with. Okay, for instance, we have this node number 7 that is quite well connected, right, to the network. And we have this, I don't know, this other node here, number 1 here, that is just has 3 connections. Okay, so that what could be more important? Which connection, which tie or which connection could be more important for this node or for this node? Do you think it could be more important to be connected with this guy or this organization or with this organization? That's the reason what we talk about influence. When this organization is connected with a well-connected organization, it gets more influence all over the network. Contrary, this organization, this firm, is connected with an organization that it is not too well connected, right? Here, it has only 2 other additional connections. So we could conclude then that this firm have more influence all over the network than this one because of the quality of its connections. Okay, I don't know how much time I have left.
We still have time, around 10 more minutes.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to finish with some ideas from my research with some data of Peru. Okay, now I'm going to explain you what interlocking directorates are. Interlocking directorates are created when some director with some executive of the board of directors is seated in more than one board, right? You have this kind of top executives that are part of this board executives of big firms, of large firms, and but some of them decide to sit in many other boards. I mean, for instance, in Latin America, we have some directors that are seated in more than 10 or 15 boards. It's quite crazy, right? I don't know in Asia how it is, how is it? But for instance, here some top executives hold some positions in in 15 or 13 boards. So okay, it could be very controversial if we ask if they are actually able to keep their control and management labor and responsibilities, having this with 13 or 15 boards, right? But that is another topic. Okay, so one way that organizations have to play these social interactions within the business community is to create this kind of interlocking directorates. It's quite beneficial for them to have some directors that actually have some positions in others' boards, in other companies, because they connect the companies among them, right? In this whole corporate network, and they can obtain information from those other companies. Imagine that a mining company has a director that is also seated in a big bank board of directors. So this mining company could be able to get some strategic resources from that bank, from the banking industry. That's the main idea, okay? Okay, so interlocking directorates are connecting firms and individuals in 2 levels. For instance, we have this firm, this company B2, that is connected to this other company B1 through the shared director A, right? This director is seated here and here in B1 and in B2 boards. But actually, the connection is not only between firms, but it's also between individuals, because if we have this figure number 2 here, we can see the same firms connected by the same director A, but also director A is connecting this group of directors with these other groups of directors. What I said is that director B, E, and C are not well able to connect with director G, F, and D without the intermediation of A. right? Because he's the bridge. Director A is the bridge between these two groups. That's the reason why it's so important, the social network dynamics in organizations, decisions and performance. They are usually obtaining several resources and they are imitating business practices. They are obtaining different resources such as information and financial or financial resources for their operations and strategy. Okay. And why it's so important to study this director networks? Because large companies, I mean, at least in many parts of Europe and Latin America, big companies are in charge of almost all the important decisions in the country, right? These big firms, these big business groups that control many resources, many political influence, and many economic and a strong economic power. They conform this local business elite and also have a lot of influence in the society because of their political power and because of their economic power, right? So they are very important agents in the society to study. Okay, and these are my results from my research in Peru. I get a sample of large firms in Peru and begin to trace how they were connected through their shared directors. And these blue dots are the companies in the year 2000, 2005, 2010, and 2015. And the lines, the ties, the connections were the directors they are sharing. If the line is more wide, that means that those firms are sharing more than one director, right? So, and this is the situation from Peru, for instance. We have a strong corporate network. They are playing together. They are sharing resources. So here are some final insights from this, from the results of Peru. We found the resilience of the corporate network. They are not just playing together through these shared directors in the corporate network, but also they resist to change that kind of business structure. Okay, so over time they are getting stronger. Okay, they are progressively strengthening their participation in the corporate network. And the Peruvian corporate network is trying to be more cohesive in time. They are trying to play together. As we were saying before, power is necessary, actually. It's a double-edged sword, you know. It's necessary to build and link a better society, but it also could also have a consequence of concentration of power. So, so it's very important for individuals, for students, for managers to be aware of the existence of power dynamics and how this power dynamics works in the society. It's important for companies for them to know how to influence in their environments and in their stakeholders. It's also important to know how to build and retain individual as well as organizational power, relational power indeed. And finally, we all know that relational power could be strong for the better, for the good, or for the bad. So it's the decision of managers and the top executive team of companies how they could use this relational power for their strategies in order to do good or in order to copy or imitate some bad practices in the industry. So that was my presentation. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry for the disconnections.
Thank you very much, Dr. Miguel, for your insightful and interesting topic for presentation. Okay, so I think we will only have like 5 minutes of question and answer session. If there is anyone who wants to ask any question, please use the feature raise hand on Zoom and we will unmute you. Yes, there is a question from Dr. Firdaus. Please unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was indeed a very insightful presentation. I'm having 2 points. One is, about the model in which you are showing the strong tie and a weak tie. And you have mentioned that the author has, kept this financial aspect in a weak tie. So what is your, take on this point that nowadays financial or capital is, accepted as a, sixth sense, because without money we cannot, think. So how you can, what are your, viewpoints on that it is a weak tie? And my second point is that the companies or the organizations who are outliners, who are not, connected directly in the map, who were the outliners and it was showing that they are weakly connected. So what about those companies so that they can, get connected towards the, central connectivity? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your questions. Regarding the first question, I think it depends on the firm's strategy, and also depends of the individual's strategy. I mean, each of us as individuals, as professionals, have a specific strategy for our own careers, the same way that organizations have a specific strategies to develop to achieve their goals. So when we get aware of this differences of weak ties and strong ties, we need to choose in which moment we could use some kind of ties in order for us to obtain support, for instance, from our strong ties. And sometimes, and in other moments or situations or strategies, we could use weak ties to obtain information from the banking sector, from the mining sector, from the agricultural sector, and so on. So I think it depends most on our strategy and also on the firm's strategy, because this kind of weak ties and strong ties are not bad or good as natural. They are like neutral, and depends how we can use them in our strategy. And about the second question, I think being an isolated firm, I mean, without not having any connection at all, is not too bad. Actually, it depends how the company decides to play. There are some research that actually have evidence how big firms that have plenty of financial resources are playing without any connections at all. So probably size, it could be a good replacement for when you don't have this social capital, these connections. I mean, size and financial resources by its own could replace any other resources that firm could obtain from outwards. So in a strategic management, you know that you can obtain resources from the inside. You can generate your own resources, and you can obtain resources from outside, for instance, from your relationships, from your social networks. But again, it depends on how is the potential of the firm to obtain resources from the outside. If the firm could generate its own resources from the inside, probably it would be not necessary for it to be strongly connected at all, right?
Does that answer your question, Dr. Firdaus?
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, okay, I think that marks the end of the Q&A session. Thank you very much, Dr. Miguel, with your topic Power and Influence in Organizations, the Corporate of Interlocking Directorates. I think it's quite important to know the basic of this theory as well, especially when we're humans that are linked to other people, right? And how we make use of that link and connection to maybe our advantage in finance or organizations, basically, that are included in many ways in life. Okay, thank you. If there is anyone who wants to ask question to Dr. Miguel, maybe you can send it to the chat, and we'll deliver those questions to Dr. Miguel later so that he can answer those questions for you. Now, we will have the next keynote speaker, Dr. Firdaus Ahmad Malik from National Institute of Public Finance and Policy in India. Dr. Firdaus Ahmad Malik, he graduated with a PhD degree from Baba Saheb Bhimrao Ambedkar University in Lucknow, India. He holds a Master in Philosophy degree in Economics from the same university, and a master's degree in economics from the University of Kashmir. His research area of interest is microfinance, financial inclusion, and financial literacy. He has published more than 20 papers in Springer, Elsevier, Taylor, and Francis, and other Scopus Index journals. He has also published his latest book with Springer, titled Financial Inclusion Schemes in EMEA. His forthcoming book, titled Repatriation, Management, and Competency Transfer in a Culturally Dynamic World, is under contract with Springer. Prior joining NIPFP, he has worked with the Jindal Center for the Global South at OP Jindal Global University in Sonipat, Haryana. He will present his materials for presentation with Professor Dr. Tarika Singh Sikarwar. So for Dr. Firdaus and Professor Dr. Tarika, the time is yours.
Thank you very much. Is our presentation visible to all of you?
Yes, it is visible to us, Dr. Firdaus.
Thank you very much for the warm, introduction. I'm very thankful for AIBPM for this opportunity to share our, research with you. And with me is, Deputy Director Professor Tarika from Prestige Institute of Management. So we both will, together present our research. So the title of our research is about financial inclusion, how financial inclusion is, working in emerging market. It is a synthesis of a theory and practicality. So we are actually, there are three authors, me, Professor Tarika, and her PhD student Nidhi Jain. So what is the motivation of this research? The motivation of this research is to try to understand financial inclusion. And then this study, discusses the various inline products or financial services which are existing in the domain of financial inclusion, like it is talking about products like loan, insurance, saving accounts, and payments. And this research tells us that if we are having financial inclusion, it led to inclusive growth, which later helps us to have economic development. This research also highlights the barriers which are restricting towards the achievement of financial inclusion. Lastly, this paper offers research both in theoretical and practical advices for bureaucrats, policymakers, and it will add the best practice for the experts with the empirical opinions from other authors, which we have discussed in the theoretical domain of the paper. So if we try to understand financial inclusion has been used tremendously. It is used as a buzzword for development, and it got so much international attention. If we talk about sustainable development goals, green finance, so everywhere in every aspect of the program, whether it is from world organizations like World Bank, IMF, and all, their main focus is financial inclusion. They have made it a central point to lead the growth through financial inclusion. So according to Robert King and his other authors, He's saying that financial inclusion is that process which assures all members of the economy to have access to availability and utilization of formal banking system. And there is ample literature which highlights that because of excess of financial inclusion, we are, able to end the poverty. Access to financial inclusion reduces poverty. It helps us to generate employment, and later on, the country, becomes economically progress. There are multiple institutions, as this research is more focused to India. There are multiple, institutions who are working with the services of financial inclusion, like we are having in India microfinance institutions, we are having regional rural banks. Nowadays, India is known throughout the world for digital technology. We are having Paytm payment banks, we are having UPIs, and recently India has a bilateral tie with Abu Dhabi, and they are, sharing bilateral trade through digital technology. So the individuals in Abu Dhabi and the individuals in India, they can, make transactions digitally through their mobile phone. So India is known for its achievement in the, digitalization. So which altogether led that there is a great development in rural India, because India is a country which lives in rural India. 80% people are, living in India in the rural areas. So there is great progress in financial inclusion since 2020. So as for the government programs, since 2014, India has targeted the disadvantaged populations to provide them the slogan Sabka Saath Sabka Vikas, that everyone is equal and we should give them company. So they have announced various financial programs. They are with the name of Prime Minister Jan Dhan Yojana. In that very scheme, Government of India has given free of cost banking account, banking access, banking services to the vulnerable groups, to the disadvantaged groups who were unbanked. Then there is, another scheme, another program from Government of India. It is called Mudra scheme, Pradhan Mantri Mudra scheme. Pradhan Mantri is a Hindi word, it means Prime Minister. It is the name by the name of Prime Minister, this program. So under this Pradhan Mantri Mudra scheme, they are providing small startups, small and micro medium, enterprises with the facility of loan without any mortgage. Then we are having insurance policies like Atal Pension Yojana, and then we are having other, different programs, which are the main focus of these programs is to include those populations, to include those people who are, outside the mainstream banking. Now the question arises, who are financially excluded populations? Financially excluded population through our globe, it has been seen by the literature. These are the people who are children. These are the elderly people, people who are living the life as a low pocket income in a society, and women, and mostly population who are, living the life of exclusion. They live in rural India. So this paper is an attempt itself to synthesize the work on financial inclusion, how it emerges in the emerging economies, try to understand various theories of financial inclusion, factors which are affecting financial inclusion in emerging markets, what are the regulations, reforms, and what were the most recent financial inclusion models developed, and lastly we will share the policy implications. So now we will try to put some light on theories. As financial inclusion theories, inclusion fosters the premises to everyone to have access, and it gives them opportunity to get access in their lives. So we will first try to understand the social contract and diverse theory. Social contract and diverse theory is giving us the example that how society lives and what is the behavior of a people in a society, that people are living together and people are helping each other in a social contract theory, if we try to understand our traditional times, how society was, behaving, if somebody or some of our friends getting, any sort of difficulty, the society come together and help. And because of this, social contract and diversity, people were helping each other. Then we are trying to understand financial inclusion is a complex problem. It has been influenced. It has been influenced by politicians because they are designing policies. It is decided by the geography of a particular region, what type of financial spectrum we are having. It depends upon the geography. It also depends upon the economy. Sociological and psychological factors are also affecting or explaining the financial inclusion. Several ideas and approaches are employed to describe and analyze the issues. So if we try to understand from social point of view how society was emerging in the past, now how society is having challenges because of digitalization, we are having technology, but still there are problems with respect to politics, how they are designing, with respect to geography, and so on. So finally, these factors are explaining financial inclusion and financial exclusion. Digitalization led to financial inclusion, but these factors, socio-economic, geographical, and political instabilities, they are the forces or they are the factors behind financial exclusion. So if we try to understand the neoclassical economics, that they were of the view that market exists and it covers itself, then there are theories of institutional mechanism that government is coming with the program. There are rules and regulations, but these rules and regulations, these programs are designed with the approach of availability or power of the state, and they lack. They are always supply oriented programs. They lack the demand side inputs. Then political economy theories, government are coming with the mission. For example, if there are elections, they will announce some packages. So there is instability, there are gaps. Then social and contractant theory, which I have already explained, that how it was playing a leading role in the traditional times, but nowadays it is outdated. People are very busy. There is not such social interaction or cultural values prevailing these days in their society. Then economic interconnectedness, which was explained by Goldsmith, and recently the first author was explaining with respect to organizations how economic interconnectedness is explaining the development of a firm. But here we are discussing how economic interconnectedness is explaining the financial inclusion. The more strong you are economically, the more chances that you will be financially included. These four fundamental financial theories like welfare concept, monetary, regulatory, and development, they are based on measuring variables to determine the gauge, the level of financial inclusion in each country. So besides these, above theories which I have explained, the government, the economy, they are having, welfare programs which led to financial inclusion. Then they try to assess monetary and regulatory developments. As we are recently, facing the global financial crisis, there are monetary and fiscal policy checkups to balance the economy, to safeguard from the, financial crisis like rising inflation and all. So these things they are measuring, they are evaluating the performance of the these programs so that the country will be stable. So inclusion actually has been talked, it is a civil right, just like we are talking about education is a fundamental right, and right to health, right to education, right to drinking water facility. Nowadays money, concept of money, word money, has been taken as the sixth sense. Without money we cannot think. Without money human life is incomplete. Similarly in literature they are saying that inclusion is a civil right concept that advocates equal access, equal opportunity for all individuals. The ideas of financial inclusion demonstrates a clear relationship between inequality and economic prosperity. Ozili in 2020, he has, make much, focus on that. It is the financial inclusion which will help us to curb the inequality and will lead us to economic prosperity. So now I will invite my, co-presenter Professor Tarika to, put some light on the, existing slides.
Thank you, Dr. Firdaus. I understand I am audible.
Yes, you are audible, please.
All right, thank you. I'll take this discussion further from here and we'll discuss about the factors affecting financial inclusion in the emerging markets. So the discussion which goes further from here is not only pertaining to our nation, but to all the emerging economies. So first, let us understand the two major aspects of the factors which affects this inclusion process. So before continuing, let us understand what is exclusion. So financial exclusion is the term that defines that there are certain social groups, there are certain individuals in the society which do not gain access to the formal financial system of that particular nation. So they have an ability to access the necessary financial services in any of the appropriate form. So exclusion can come about as a result of problem related to excess of the financial services. They may be related to the conditions prevailing in that nation's prices, marketing, or any other kind of negative experience that a particular target group might have had in that nation. Similarly, inclusion, as Dr. Firdaus has already explained about it, inclusion is the access to safe, easy, and affordable credit and other kind of financial services by all the genre of the society. That is, even poor, even vulnerable groups, disadvantaged groups, and all the lagging sectors, they have that access. So a very good definition is given by United Nations in 2006, which has explained financial inclusion as the provision of access of credit for bankable people and the firms, and insurance to all the insurable people and the firms, and the savings and payment services which are accessible to everyone there. So taking this discussion further, next slide, please. We'll look into why there is a lack of access of the official financial institutions and how it makes poor people, how it makes it more difficult for the poor people to save money, to accumulate asset, and to invest in the income generating initiative. So what we need is what we need is a more equitable economic system that focuses from, or that has focus shifted from the financial sector expansion to the excess of depth and breadth of that particular system. So we see that governments, telecommunication firms, financial services firms, they should invest in rules and governance that ensure that the people they have an access to the simple products, simple financial products and services. So in developing economics, if we see on the statistics part, we will find that for example, that in Brazil, 31% women, they are unbanked, and as compared to the men, that means that access to the financial services is comparatively more less in women than as compared to the male counterparts there. So financial service provider, they must ensure that the staff, agents, and all those who give the information should provide comprehensive as well as correct information. So in detail, if I talk about the regulation parts here, which we have mentioned in our paper, so we'll like to initially quote a research work of Ozili, who has done in 2018, and wherein he has quoted that in emerging economies, it is not the only thing that is smartphones, possessing of smartphones or any other digital service devices is sufficient. What is required is introduction to the technology. That means the person or the individual who is having smartphone should be able to understand how to use the technology rather than just having these smartphones there. Right. So taking it further, there is no substitute for an in-depth examination of an applicant's abilities, expertise, and capacity to manage his own organization and the own services which are accessible to that person. Secondly, I would like to add here is that in regulatory part, it's not about only possessing the money. Possessing the money would not just help. It is about inclusion, what you give, right? There are certain sections of the society who may possess the money, who may have, as I said, smartphones, or who may have the digital services with them. It's not about having all those gadgets with you. It's all about how the regulations are working towards their inclusion by making them financially aware, by spreading the knowledge of use of the technology there. Nextly, then I like to quote here how global organizations like World Bank, they have taken policy initiatives for elevating the poverty programs. Not only World Bank, but IMF, Asian Development Banks, and there are many similar organizations, including the NGOs, the private sectors, and the public organizations who are working in this direction. So spreading the knowledge, spreading the awareness is the key point. What emerging economies have to do, they have to understand their own country. So it's not about the generalization, like something which can be done in India can be done in Malaysia, or it can be done in the Indonesia. No, it's about the company-based strategies which the government or the other key stakeholders should design, wherein the problems of exclusion can be taken care of by various programs and these schemes they should come up with. So it's not about we as an organization should think, we as a nation should think, it should not only be supply driven, but it should also see the other aspect. The other aspect, that is the users aspect, who are getting benefit out of it. We understand that there are institutional settings, there are chances of targeting exclusion, but actually, it's not about targeting exclusion. This is being a problem. They are targeting the problem, like just providing good food to the sick or the ill person. But instead, it's not about providing food. It's about treating them, giving them proper treatment. So rather than just focusing on the supply side, the need of poor people, the excluded people, has to be understood on a timely manner and through proper addressing these the need of the scheme, the policy initiative. Fine. So if it's just going to be the supply side, the problem would remain as it is. It's the poverty will exist, the excluded sector will be excluded, and it will continue forever. So financial education, financial awareness are the key strategies which the governments or the policymakers should focus upon, rather than just coming up the reforms, the policy part. I would request Dr. Firdaus to continue further from here.
Thank you very much. As we have, got some insights from Professor Tarika about the role of, economies, especially emerging countries, how they should behave. They should not look only, supply-oriented things, rather than they should much focus on the demand of the people. As we have quoted the example that smartphone itself cannot, help to the poor people to achieve the financial inclusion. It is just like, they are treating the, they are, treating a sick person by giving him good food, rather a sick person, needs, to recover from the disease first. If they are keeping that disease, we have given it an interesting example. If they are keeping the disease and offering good food, that will not help. Economics also teaches us that the suitable plan is that we have to first to treat the disease. Once we will treat the disease, that person, his or herself, can be able to achieve the other things. He will be happy, he can work, he can earn phone and all. So similarly, government are doing like this. They are announcing subsidies. These subsidies in long run, or they are not having any significant impact to achieve the financial inclusion. Similarly, financial education programs on the strategies, there is a lot of gap, gender gap, to achieve the financial access. It shrinks the existing financial inclusion policies. So, and to the next slide. Yes. So here I am going to discuss the interesting point, which is a contribution of our paper. We are trying to highlight that why poverty exists in the economies or in the countries. Poverty is the is the main reason of the exclusion, and that exclusion is explained by the two phases. Two the types of exclusion are there. One is involuntary exclusion and one is voluntary exclusion. So this problem leads to the treatment. Government is announcing programs to tackle the the voluntary exclusion or involuntary exclusion. Those people who want to be mainstream, they are giving programs. Like in India, we are having free of cost bank account, supply oriented bunch of schemes from 1947. But there is, as we were highlighting in the literature, there is a mismatch between supply and demand. Then the question arises what to do and how to do. Then government and policy makers, bureaucrats, they are coming with the development programs, policies and schemes. After implementation of these policies, if we try to look at the figure 5, policy implementers, they are giving this to tackle the poverty, and it ultimately will have financial exclusion will be elevated. To achieve that, we will achieve financial inclusion. This is a theory, and every country is like doing like this, announcing programs, financing, subsidies, so on and so forth. So by this we are achieving financial inclusion. So these are the objectives. But there is a that is the secondary question: how much financial inclusion countries are achieving? What is the development gap? They are altogether the question of research. So then the main contribution of our paper is that every policy till now we have analyzed it, we have observed, or we have evaluated the literature review. They are lacking this element, unrecognized risks and uncertainty factors that led to policy failure. This point they are not keeping. They are not keeping the externality. For example, they have announced the program or policy, but external factors are not there. For example, if there is environmental calamity in Turkey, we are having recent evidence of earthquake. If there is any government program, but that program was not covered with environmental factors like floods, earthquake, or tsunami. These are the past bad experiences. So the point is here that there is externality factors are missing in the policies. So what it led to, like health factors like COVID-19 came, Zika virus came. So none of the governments, none of the economies were having any arrangement towards these external problems. Like accident, if there is accident, there is damage. So there is no provision to safeguard the people, like wars. So it all together, the concept in the last slide that we are achieving financial inclusion here. So it all together makes it a failure. Big programs, they are there, it becomes totally failure. And then there comes the role of IMF, government, they are funding that problem. Just like Turkey, they are getting donations. Just like Pakistan, they were struggling in the floods. They are getting donations to, for that period. They will get crores. But that donation will not work. We have to think more sincerely about these things, that why policymakers are making the policies, but they are not keeping the essential elements of the externalities, because human life is a tendency, it is a phenomena which are having ups and downs. There are good times and bad times. So for good times we are planning our education, we are planning our future, marriage, job, investment and all, but we are not ready for the externalities like accidents, losses and all. Similarly, in the policies, government is giving one side full-fledged policy, announcing funds, giving funds for the investment. But they are not, keeping the external factors, that if there will be some emergency like floods and all, what will at that time we will do. So the literature says that there is a, you know, totally, devastation to these programs and policies, which makes them failure in the grassroots level. So if we try to observe, if we try to, as a researchers, ask a question, why poverty is still existing? Because of these factors. So this paper intends to study financial inclusion, to synthesize theory and practicality, how it works at the practical grounds. Then it has highlighted financial exclusion, which is backed by voluntary exclusion and voluntary inclusion. So unlike voluntary exclusion, involuntary exclusion can be treated through various programs which I have highlighted. With respect to India, we are having Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana to help the startups. According to the study, there is a mismatch between supply and demand of digitally literate people. This is missed so much. So this paper highlights these things. So it can be improved by providing free cell phones, telecommunication network training about the usage, and improving the citizens, like perhaps the Tarika was, we should focus on education and financial literacy. So one of the strongest reason of financial exclusion is, as we have highlighted, poverty. So there are numerous organizations counting by World Bank, IMF, Asian Development Bank. They are working from years for the welfarement of the people. So these organizations should, promote and support the citizens of every country to increase, financial inclusion. As literature is saying that cell phone is playing significant role to have a greater impact to access financial access rather than banking system. So there is huge, investment towards banking, but cell phone is doing nowadays. It is, because of digitalization. So like internet facilities that should be, taken care and all. So as time is very short, I will try to cut down it. What is the recommendation from this problem? That we should have policies that will help startups that generate employment, so that people can achieve get money accordingly. They can urge or use in digital platforms. One is they will generate income, they will use their personal disposal that will lead to financial inclusion. The research implication of this research is that we have theoretically present the research effectively, which contribute to the knowledge how to building social theories, individual theories, political theories, and what are the perceptions of people to emphasize biological variables to shape the people's view in reality. That financial product is that should be focused and make easy access to the people across the countries, which will lead to economic growth and development. If implemented right, the study will be helpful to the poor people who can improve their living standards and have a secure future learning. So it will be helpful to have a digital financial awareness literacy that can urge them to invest in and make beneficial for both individuals and the economy. The study also helpful for bureaucrats and scientists to take the safeguards of these external things in their policies and programs, so that it will help them. So with these words, I am thanking. If there are questions.
Thank you, Dr. Firdaus. That was an excellent presentation regarding the financial inclusion. It will be really helpful if ever like the government imply such theory in our like policies and make it come true, because that was such an ideal life that each country will ever live for, right? Okay, because the duration for the presentation is up, I think the question and answer session will be held after the last speaker, or maybe if there is any question or answer that people want to directly ask to you, they will need to chat on the chat room, and you can answer it later on the Q&A session after the last speaker's turn. Will that be okay, Dr. Firdaus?
Yes, no problem from my side. If there are questions, I can take now also, if they are interested to ask it after the presentation. So my side, there is no issue.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Dr. Firdaus. Now we will move on to our third speaker, which is Dr. Daisy Kim Mui Hong. So Dr. Daisy Kim Mui Hong is an associate professor at the School of Management, University Science Malaysia, Penang, Malaysia. She received her PhD in Business and Management from the International Graduate School of Business at the University of South Australia and earned MBA from University Science Malaysia. She has published 79 ISI and Scopus Index journal papers. Dr. Ki's research interests include organizational psychology, human resource management, organizational behavior, work values, leadership, and entrepreneurship. She was a visiting professor at Busan National University in South Korea in 2018. And she is also the chief editor of the Journal of Community Development in Asia, assistant specialty chief editor of Organizational Psychology of Frontiers in Psychology, and associate editor for Frontiers in Public Health. For Dr. Daisy Kim Mui Hong, the time is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Anis, for your sharing. And I'm very happy to be here this morning. First of all, I'd like to thank aibpm and the committee for organizing 2023 Malang ICPM. And also I would like to thank aibpm for providing me a golden opportunity to be the keynote speaker for this international conference. Thank you, aibpm. And this morning, I'm very happy to talk about employee engagement, a must-have in the future of work. So according to the CEO magazine, early this month, they reported that employee engagement will be a must-have in the future. And according to HR World, 2 days ago, they reported about employee engagement. And it's not only a key to sustainable business strategy of an organization, but it may be the most important factor that accelerates the business growth of an organization. And Forbes, the American business magazine, this month actually reported that 7 in every 10 executives agree that employee engagement is essential to the success of an organization, yet few organizations are doing it correctly. And a lot of organizations, in fact, has actually invested in employee experience initiative and benefit. Still, many of them fail to get some of the basic informations of employee engagement correctly. There is a misconception that talented people are only drawn to the organizations with great benefits. However, the research has shown that people are looking forward, or people actually value meaningful work and also work with people from whom they can grow and learn. Of course, clear career path and talent successions are as important as employee benefits. I believe that you are very familiar with these two terms, employee satisfaction and employee engagement, and some have even used them interchangeably. Here, I would like to talk about the difference between employee satisfaction and employee engagement, because employee satisfaction does not equal to employee engagement, and employee engagement is not the same and is not the same as employee satisfaction. Let's dive into the differences between these two terms. Let's look at these two scenarios. Imagine that you have these two types of employee in the organizations. Employee A comes into work every day and feeling happy, complete the task, and chit-chat with the co-worker. And he or she is actually very pleased, very happy with the pay and salary, compensations and benefits, and does not feel the need that he or she need to leave the company or need to do any job hunting. Whereas employee B, you can see that he or she comes into work each day feeling happy to be there in the organizations. He or she complete the task, collaborate with the co-workers, and frequently actually brainstorm new ideas to push the organizations forward, and even helps the organization to achieve their objective and also mission. And this employee does not hesitate to voice out their view, their opinions, and concern about what are ways to actually innovate. So it is very clear that employee A is very satisfied with his or her job at the workplace. And employee B is deeply engaged in their job. So we can see employee satisfaction is about how the employees feel about their job, and employee engagement is having a bigger concept that employee satisfaction actually is more than employee satisfaction, where the employees can feel the connections with the organizations and they feel that they are very important in their organizations. Is the feeling how they feel that they are connected with their organizations. So according to the latest survey by Gallup 2022, you can see, the right-hand side, there is a chart. So you can see that the global employee engagement has remained stable. So you can see the increasing trend. So the number, in fact, tells a story that there is more than 1/5 of the populations globally that people are actually engaged with their workplace. However, there is about 1/5, another 1/5, they are actively disengaged. So what is the cause of disengagement? Okay, so you can see that the disengaged employee costs the world 7.8 trillion a year in lost productivity, which is actually equated to 11% of global GDP. And there is a new term, some of you may be very familiar. Also is, and maybe in the future it can be a good research area that you would like to look at: quiet quitting. So quiet quitting actually refer to disengaged employee that they actually put minimum efforts than what is actually required from their job. So they just fulfill the minimum requirement by the maybe from the work, or even required by their supervisors. They fulfill the minimum requirement. So we can see that according to the latest report, that more than half of the US workforce actually consists of quiet quitters. So what is this employee engagement? So employee engagement is about the involvement or the enthusiasm and the dedications of employee feel about their job. Academic researchers such as Becker and Schofferly 2015 define employee engagement as a positive, fulfilling work-related state of mind that is characterized by vigor, dedications, and absorptions of employee. And I would see employee engagement has 3 C. So you can see in the picture here that committed, contributing, captivated, these 3 C. So engaged employee, they feel that they are committed and they want to stay with the organizations and feeling passionate about its missions, and they contribute, they are motivated to help the organization to succeed, to achieve their objective and mission, and they are captivated, they feel energized, they are so excited and looking forward to work each day. They feel energized, looking forward to coming to work. So what you can see that engaged employee, they are more likely to stay longer with their organizations, they are better corporate citizens, and they have more innovative ideas. So engaged employee, they are 44% more productive than their counterparts. So why employee engagement is important? So you can see that organization, they are trying to engage the employee to create a strategy advantage to their organizations. Usually employee engagement can be considered one of the key drivers to the success of the organizations, given that there is a proof that employee engagement is significantly related to employee satisfaction as well as employee morale. So usually the engaged employee, they are more productive, they are high performer in the organization, they are committed, and they have higher retention rate. In other words, also it means that they are less likely to quit the organization. So there will be a lower turnover rate and lower absenteeism as well, and a better customer service. Okay, they are the first point of contact to the customer. So when your employee is actually happy and engaged, they are more likely to spill the effect to the customer. So they will deliver the better customer service and higher revenue for the company. So what are the characteristics of engaged employee? So we know that engaged employee, they often develop an emotional connections to their job and organization that focus on working towards organizational goal as well as organizational missions. So usually the characteristic, they know what is their role and they know what are their job about, and they want to do it. They want to actually complete their task. And they are loyal to their employer, and they are also high performer and productive. They are motivated to work toward the success. They know what the success look like. They know what is the KPI given, and they know how to actually deliver the KPI, key performance indicator of the organizations. And they are connected and emotionally connected and motivated to perform at a higher level. You will see 3 obvious behavior from the engaged employee. There are 3 S here. So you can see, first, they will talk positively about the company to all the stakeholders, regardless whether they are the employees or the co-worker in the organization or people outside of the organization. They will speak positively about their organizations. Okay, the second S is about stay. They have a strong desire to remain with the organizations, despite having, maybe they may have other opportunities, but they decided to stay with the organization. Another one is to strive, make an extra effort to contribute to the success of the organizations. Okay, so maybe you can put this picture and compare with the workplace that you are with right now. So this is how the engaged workplace look like. You will see there is a clear communications from the top to the bottom, and employees are actually clear with their work expectations and goal. They know what is their KPI and how to deliver, and you can feel others are engaged too. You can feel that your colleagues are actually engaged with their job. And you will see there is a culture of respect, that there is good relationship between the supervisor and employees, whereby supervisor are and also co-worker who care about their employees as a person. In fact, employee engagement is a process of creating a culture where employees are motivated to perform, to go above and beyond, to deliver their very best every day. So they can see a clear opportunity for career growth in the company. They know where is the career path, what can they actually achieve in the coming 5 years and 10 years in the company. And also they have the access to the right tool to complete their tasks. They are given the support, the resources. And lastly, you can see that there is a feedback given from the supervisor to their performance. And here I would like to show you there are different types of engagement level. You look at the picture at the right-hand side, you can see that employees, there are many employees, even though they are on the same board, but their engagement level is different. So you can see at the right-hand side, they are fully engaged. They are the star performance of your company. They are highly committed, loyal employees who actually add value to the organization, and they are ready and prepared to go the extra mile for your organizations. And usually this type of star performance, they are more likely to stay with your organization for a long term. And engaged employee, the second category, they are the key contributors to the company. They are reliable and they will do what is expected of them, but inclined to be competent and risk averse. And you can see that this is the area for improvement for your organization to push this engaged workforce to be fully engaged. And the third category is about not engaged. They are the passenger of your company. They're indifferent and could be frustrated employee with low energy level who actually do only the minimum to get by. Usually this group category, we term them as quiet quitter. Okay, the new term right now. So there is another category is disengaged. So we need to be very careful with the disengaged employee because they are most likely to leave their organizations. And not only that, they may actually show counterproductive behavior and may actually affect the employees around them because they were talk badly and negatively about the current organization. They are the dissatisfied employee with a contagious, destructive influence and who are most likely looking for another job. So it's very important to tackle the disengaged employees, or otherwise they will impact the productivity of all the employees around them. So what are the strategies? We know that there are different engagement levels and we know the importance of employee engagements. So what can we actually do with the employee engagement? So these are the strategies that I can actually propose that employer can actually encourage employee engagement in many ways, including, there is a clear communications between the top to the bottom employees from the top management with the employees, and they can actually communicate their expectations clearly and offer rewards, because I always believe that high performers, their work must be recognized. So offer rewards, promotion for excellent works, and also give prize to them, to the employees, and keeping employees informed about the organization performance. How well is my organization's right now in terms of the performance, revenue, and provide regular feedback to the employees as well, making efforts to make the employees feel valued and respected, and that they have the opportunity to voice out their view and their concerns, so that they know that their ideas are being heard and understood. And employee can see that their work is meaningful and believe that they are appreciated by their supervisor and they have been entrusted with the success of the organizations. And it is always good to measure the employee engagement in your organization. You can actually include these 9 questions to assess your employee engagement. For example, this question: do you believe that the organization has your best interest in your mind when making business decisions? Are you satisfied with the way how your organization manage the business and people? Do you believe that organizations actually maintain a good communications with you? Have you actually continued to collaborate with your team during this time? And does your team inspire you to do your very best work? Does your team actually help you to successfully complete your work? Do you believe that you have the appropriate amount of information? Means that you have the access to the information to the tool, and you receive the adequate support and resources to make the correct decisions about your work. When something unexpected come out in your work, do you usually know whom that you can actually ask for help? Do you have a good understanding about the structure and the process in your organizations? And this is a self-check. How engaged are you at your workplace? So are you satisfied? Are you actually feel that you are being valued by your colleague and by your supervisor? Have you been contributing energetically? And are you ambitious for your organization? Do you find yourself speaking positively about your organization's activity? Do you actually work and go beyond the stated requirement of the job and contribute discretionary effort? It means that you actually spend your time, and effort. So to conclude, the work of leaders, managers, and supervisors is to create the condition in which employee engagement can actually take place in your organizations, and to provide your employees with the opportunity to make the engagement choice. It is about facilitating a culture of engagement. And there are 4 recommended employee engagement books. If you are interested to know further about employee engagement, these are the books that you can actually read. For example, Employee Experience Advantage, how to win the war for talent by giving employees the workspace they want, the tool they need, and a culture they can celebrate. This is by Jacob Morgan. The second book, The Truth About Employee Engagement by Patrick Lencioni, and Calvin Cruz taught about employee engagement 2.0, how to actually motivate your team for high performance. The last book is Carrot and Stick Don't Work, Build a Culture of Employee Engagement with the Principle of Respect by Paul Machino. And that's all for my sessions. Thank you very much. I pass the time to Miss Annie.
Thank you, Dr. Daisy. That was really an interesting topic for me, especially like personally. I find it really interesting because it's really like a topic that maybe leaders or maybe like directors from companies should like have a lot to discuss, because sometimes I find myself that there are some employees that are quite disengaged with their with the companies they work for, because they find it quite, I don't know, maybe hard, or maybe the personality of the directors are unlikable. Maybe that affects their engagement within their work. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so is there any question for Dr. Daisy with this interesting topic? Can you give us 3 words? If there's anyone who wants to ask question, you can use the feature raise your hand, or you can directly chat your question on the chat room. Is there any question? Okay, if there is no question, then I will ask question to Dr. Daisy, if that's okay for you. So we know that as you've explained before, that this is a topic that should be discussed around between directors, right? Do you think that the personalities of the directors itself may greatly impact the engagement of the employees, and also whether the engagement of the employees are really will really determine the success of that company or organization?
Okay, thank you, Miss Annie, for your question. It's very interesting questions. As I mentioned, as I shared just now, actually a lot of companies, they actually heavily invested in the employee engagement. But what actually their approach is wrong, because I'm not saying that all the approach is wrong, but some of the company, they only focus on that, they only see that, the employee only can be engaged if I provide the great benefits to the employees, but actually employees actually value about their work, value the meaningful working relationship with their colleague, and also care about what is the impact that the company can lead to the community, and as well as care about their supervisor or care about the management that can actually provide them a good career path, that a place where they can actually learn and grow. So the second question that you actually asked me, if if this employee engagement can really determine or lead to the success of the organizations, and my answer is definitely a yes, because employee engagement is about a process of creating a workplace culture where employees feel that they can actually make valuable contributions, and they feel connected, and they feel that they are an important part of the team, and their engagement will actually see and make transformations to the company, where the next thing that you will see in your company is you can see that there are higher performance, higher productivity that happens in your company, and a motivated workplace, a motivated workforce. And also, you will see that the company will start bringing in the revenue, and it will actually have a spillover effect from your employee, from your engaged employee to the customer. So they, what I mean means that they will actually deliver better customer service. Yeah. I hope I answer your question, Miss Anis. Thank you.
Yes, that definitely answered my question. Thank you very much for the interesting talk. And we will have Dr. Farsha Agarwal from Atlas Skill Tech University of India as our fourth speaker. So Dr. Farsha Agarwal recently works as Associate Professor in Marketing Management for Atlas Skill Tech University in Mumbai, and visiting faculty member for IMT Ghaziabad PG program. Previously, she worked as Research Cell Coordinator and Assistant Professor at Center for Management Studies, Jain Deemed to be University. She has more than 10 years of industry, academic, and research experience. She completed her MBA, Finance and Marketing from ICFAI Business School in Gurgaon. She did her PhD in the field of healthcare service quality from Christ University, Bangalore, and she is also certified for data analysis skill from Harvard University and Johns Hopkins University. Her area of interest in research is versatile, which includes data analysis techniques, healthcare, entrepreneurship, e-commerce, consumer behavior and investment, as well as portfolio management and foreign exchange. And for Dr. Farsha Agarwal, the time is yours.
Thank you so much for having me here. And I'll just start with my session for the day. I'll quickly share my screen. I hope it's visible.
Yes, it is visible.
And I'm audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Thank you so much. So next 20 minutes, I'll be covering on this topic, which is publishing with H-index journals. And I hope that after the session, I get some queries from participants. So I know that this is the active participation. So starting with this, so basically, when we talk about publishing with H-index journals, the question comes to our mind that how should we prepare a manuscript? What all it takes to publish with these high-indexed journals. So we know that there are different categories of publications. It can be listed publications. There are index publications, Scopus indexed, or Web of Science indexed. And within Web of Science, also we have different categories. So it can be SCI, it can be SSCI, and ESCI, and so on. So how do we prepare our manuscript so that it gets accepted? What are the key points that we should remember so that we can prepare a quality manuscript. So that is the agenda which I wish to cover in this entire session. So when we talk about a research paper, there are certain necessary things which we need to include. We know that in a nutshell that we all know about this, that how a research paper looks, correct? But then what it makes a normal research paper to a paper which gets published in high index journals. Okay, so we know that a research paper is a research paper, but then why some papers are only get accepted for high index, but not others. So when we talk about the main components of paper, here are those title, first of all, which is very important. So when I talk about title, however, I will brief you about each and every area which I have taken here. When we talk about title, the title basically should reflect to the reader or the reviewer that what your study is all about. So take 8 to 10 keywords which will capture the entire attention from your readers. If your title is not interesting enough, your manuscript will not go ahead. And it's not only about publication. Maybe the reviewer will pay attention and will take efforts to read your full script. But your readers, if they don't like your title, if they don't find value in your title, and they feel that there is nothing for them, they might not even read your abstract. And in that case, what happens? You don't earn citations for your papers. So it's basically all interconnected. So once your title convinced your author, your readers and your reviewers, then they'll take efforts to go to your abstract. Abstract and title basically is the crown of a research paper. So once your title is appropriate enough to gain the attention from readers, abstract comes. What all we need to include in abstract? Abstract should be very structured. It should capture all highlights about your research paper. When I read your abstract, I should feel that, yes, this is the paper I wish to read full. Because then there is something which I can take away for my research or for general knowledge. When we talk about abstract again should include a little about the introduction, what your study is about, how have you conducted this study, what are your key findings, what are the methodologies that you have adopted, what's your sample size, from where you have taken data, how did you analyze your data, and how your study is going to help, how innovative you are in the research which you have conducted. What is the novelty of your research? So these are some important points that one should include in the abstract. And then comes the keywords. Sometimes we are confused that keywords are the words which are the most frequently words used in our study, but no, that's not the case. Keywords are something which makes it more searchable. If people search for consumer behavior, or people search for research methodology or green branding or packaging or 4Ps, okay, or financial inclusion, it should appear. So that's why you need to choose your keywords very wisely and appropriately. Then comes introduction, and then review of literature, research methodology, analysis, conclusion, and references. I'll cover each in detail now. So as I told you about the entire manuscript, there are certain basic key preparations which we need to keep in mind. So first of all, you need to identify an area. How do you choose your topic? That on which topic you need to conduct your research? Who will tell you? Yes. So this topic or the problem statement or maybe the area of your research can come from various resources. It can be based on your expertise, or it can be based on an interest, or maybe the specific need to the conference which you're submitting, or to the journal you are submitting the paper, and what is the theme of these. So based on that, also you can prepare your paper, and accordingly you will identify an area on which you want to prepare a manuscript. When you're gathering information, you need to apply the digging approach, which means you keep digging more and more and more, and you reach to your final research gap, where you come to know that, yes, I do not want to do the studies which have already been done by previous researchers, and this is the exact thing which I wish that I should implement. So this is how digging approach will help you. Once you have actually identified the research gap, that nobody else has done this particular aspect of a particular area, let's say consumer behavior, and then you talk about different geographies, then you talk about comparison of different brands, or you talk about different demographics and their comparisons, that how it affects. So in those cases, a digging approach really helps you to find your research gap. So until you're satisfied that your research is truly novel, you need to keep doing this. Okay, keep searching for articles, keep searching, keep reading papers, keep reading associated books with it, the literature, which helps you to tell you more and more. And you don't only need to search for the contemporary, you also need to go back and see the traditional theories which are applicable in your area, so that you have the full knowledge that what has been done so far. And from there, you need to make a base of your research. Also, you need to keep in mind that your research should be applicable for at least next 10 to 15 years. Because if you are doing something which is already being done or will be obsolete so soon, you will not get your manuscript accepted for high quality journals, because the research should remain valid for upcoming years as well. So you need to choose your topic very wisely in that case. And then once you have done all this homework, once you have done all these exercises, finally you need to choose a tentative title. Still, I will say it is tentative, because until I frame my research objectives or research problems, or I'm very much clear that what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do, you keep it as a tentative title. Okay. Don't be in that pressure that first I will decide my title and then in the end I will follow it as it is. No, it doesn't happen that way. Sometimes the study needs that you need to improvise on your title as well, the way it goes further. Okay, so we call it as tentative title unless we finish our study. And the problem to be addressed through research that also you need to finalize at this stage, which again is based on your research gap which you have identified. Once you have done this, then you need to finally write your introduction part. Now, what is basically introduction? Introduction is when I'm opening the topic. There I'm telling people that what has happened, what is happening, and what I'm intending to do. So there actually you will be opening your problem statement. So this is the background which establishes a base, a foundation for you to write your research paper. It should be so interesting that it creates a curiosity in the mindset of readers and reviewers that what this study is all about. I wish to read it. It is very much interesting. It is very much applicable and it is practical. So this kind of curiosity should be created when you're writing your introduction. It is not just writing paragraphs and providing citations. It should have connect. It should not be there just for sake of writing it. Each and every word, each and every sentence should be linked and it should have a meaning. So you need to refine it in number of times, read it yourself in number of times before you actually finalize it. Ask yourself that whatever you have written in your introduction part, why I have written this, why it is required for readers. And if you find it is unnecessary, delete it. Okay. So find meaningful information which is relevant. This is the basic difference between normal research papers and high quality research papers. So authors spend a lot of time in reviewing their papers, their manuscripts themselves before actually sending it for publication. So take feedback on your papers before actually you send it for publication, and write everything which is relevant. There should not be even a sentence which is irrelevant. which is there to fill the space. That is not the style in which we write manuscripts of high quality. Next, we talk about an example. Let's say when you are talking about the introduction. So if your research addresses impact of gender on FMCG shopping, so you need to include information in your introduction section. So first you need to talk about that what is FMCG, because you need to assume that you are in one paper telling readers from start to end so that they understand, they can connect that what is happening and what can happen. Okay, so you need to tell them that what exactly is FMCG, from where the terminology is being introduced. Okay, then you need to open about FMCG industry, who are the major players, what is happening, what has happened, how the trend has improvised over the years, what is the historical data, and then what is happening in FMCG industry at global level. And also you need to include that what actually is happening at your country level, in whichever country you are actually planning to conduct your research, which addresses the problem that what is the impact of gender on FMCG shopping. Okay, whether there is any difference in male and female, that when they do FMCG shopping, they show the same behavior or they show different behavior. So that kind of study I want to conduct in that case. And then also you need to take references from previous studies where this kind of problem has been addressed in different ways. So you also need to provide information there that what is the statistics about shoppers based on gender. Are there any historical references available? Please include those as well, so readers know that what exactly has been done. Okay, and then with this, you need to close the introduction part with the purpose of study and how are you going to address it. Okay, so what this study is all about. So now from there, you have actually told them that this is what has happened. And now finally, you have identified your research gap, that this is how my study will be different from others. This is something I'm going to add to the body of literature. So this is the way we write a good introduction. Then comes review of literature. So introduction basically tells you about the area in which you have picked up your topic and the surroundings of it and what has happened into that particular area. But when I talk about review of literature, I am actually including previous studies done by researchers in this area or around it. Normally, people get confused at what is the difference between introduction and review of literature, because in both the things, I am actually giving references of previous studies or the area in which I have picked up my research. The difference here is, first thing is that your review of literature is the foundation for you to build your hypothesis. Okay, so here you are giving the theoretical background, which is helping you, supporting you to build your hypothesis. Second thing, in review of literature, you are including the studies which are done by previous researchers, whereas in introduction section, you are telling about the reference about the problem which you have picked up. Okay, so there are two different things. So review of literature tells you from the execution perspective that what already has been executed in the area of research which you have taken for yourself. Whereas introduction section tells you that in your problem area, what all has happened so far. Okay, so this is different from each other. And finally, you will be summarizing and providing the research gap. From here, actually, your study starts. So once you have identified, clearly given the problem statement and also given the research gap, then comes the methodology part. How are you basically going to execute? If you can't execute, no matter how good is your idea, you will not go forward with it. So it is very important that in the beginning itself, we check that whether data is available or not. If it is available, from where I will be collecting it. If I can collect it, will I have access to this database or not? Will I get any permissions to access that database or not? Do I have respondents? Will I get their consent? Will I be able to administer my interviews or questionnaires or observations? What is the type of research I want to do? It is exploratory or descriptive. So my suggestion here is that you pick up a good big book on research methodology and keep it with you always, because it helps you basically to choose that what exactly is the best fit for your study. Okay, so your research can be quantitative or qualitative. So tell us in methodology itself that what kind of research I am expecting from you to do. It is for readers. When I talk about high quality research, it is from the perspective of readers. You want to provide, that's fine. But what readers want to understand, what reviewers want, so that connect has to be there. So give them complete information. If your research methodology is not clear, if there is ambiguity, your paper has very high chances of getting rejected. This is one area where most of the papers get rejected. So be very careful about it and give a proper sequence of the process which you are going to follow. Normally, researchers who are not very much clear in the approach of research methodology, they are not able to do the execution also. So which means it is very poorly executed research. So what exactly you promise in your abstract or in the title or in your objectives or problem statement, because you have not designed a clear methodology, your research is poorly executed. And the result is your findings will be misleading. So what exactly you promise to your readers, you are not providing them. So in that case, you are not providing a quality research. So again, it can be rejected. Okay, so you are telling them clearly that what is the location of the study, what is the scope, what is the feasibility, how are you collecting the data using different methods. If it is questionnaire, then how many questions, how did you validate your questionnaire? Okay, who has designed this questionnaire? If you're talking about interviews, that how are you going to conduct the interviews, how many interviews you will conduct, how will you process those interviews, what tools and techniques you will be using. If you're talking about the secondary data which is already been published, you will be telling us that for how many years you are referring to this data, from which databases you will be getting this published data. So all that should be clearly defined, because it is very simple if you're not telling your readers that from where all this information will come, which means you yourself do not have any idea about it. So in that case, readers will not expect any quality outcome from your research, because you have not given them a clear plan. Okay, and then you also need to tell them the data analysis plan, that how are you going to process the information, if it is qualitative or it is quantitative, which data analysis software you will be using, which version you will be using, and if let's say you are using SPSS, then what specific test you are applying to get that result. So let's say if you want to apply ANOVA or t-test or factor analysis or correlation or regression or any kind of other test, in that case, you need to be very much clear that this is my objective, this is the data I'm collecting, and this is how I will be analyzing it. If all these things are in place and you have done the writing correctly, in that case, you get very high chances of getting your manuscript accepted. Next comes analysis. So give them a proper plan and do it with keeping in mind your objectives. Why are you analyzing the data? Just to generate tables, just to fill chapters, or to generate graphs, or to make it look more glamorous? If this is the objective, no. This is not the way we do the data analysis. What is your research objective? Go back to problem statement. How are you going to frame your objectives and how are you going to fulfill? If your objectives can be fulfilled only using frequency tables or descriptive analysis, in that case, you don't need to go for the heavy analytical tools, because you are able to meet your objectives. Normally, when people are doing PhD or they are writing papers for Scopus or Web of Science, they will apply structural equation modeling or big tables of pattern analysis or discriminant analysis, which does not even required if you need to fulfill your objectives. So please look into the objectives and see how are you going to fulfill them. Just for adding tables, just for adding numbers in your paper, don't do the data analysis. So whatever is required, that much only please do. It is a very wrong notion that if you apply latest analytical tools, Python or R programming or structural equation modeling, your paper will be selected. No, it doesn't happen that way. The reader or the reviewer will look for the quality writing and the research outcomes, and from beginning till end, do you have that kind of clarity in everything or not? I hope I'm clear here. So that's how we need to focus on our data analysis. In the end, we talk about the conclusion. So conclusion should include the summary of your findings, the interpretation basically, implications of research, who is going to use your research, what is the outcome, okay, who are the stakeholders, and what are the limitations. Maybe it is the sample size, maybe it is the location, maybe it is the audience, or maybe it is the country, or maybe it is the analytical tools, or maybe the number of years or months you had to finish your study. So all that come in the limitation of your study. And in the end, we talk about further scope for future researchers. So this is how we actually conclude the study. When we talk about references, these are the most commonly used styles for referencing. It can be APA, 6th or 7th edition, it can be Harvard, or it can be MLA. But again, if you are writing it for specific journals, you need to go to the journal guidelines and look into their specific guidelines and prepare your manuscript accordingly. High quality journals generally have their own templates, generally have their own structured abstract templates, manuscript number of words, guidelines, referencing style, and sample manuscript will also be there. So if you are submitting a paper for IEEE or Emerald or Sage or Springer, they all will follow different styles. So please go through the guidelines given by the journals. As I am telling you that we are talking about high indexed publications. So in that case, you actually need to go for the publisher's website and look into the specific guidelines and follow. If you ignore those guidelines, you will face desk rejection, no matter how good your paper is. So these are certain things which you need to keep in mind. In the end, when you're done with all these subsections, again, go back and fix everything from beginning. From the beginning till the end, whatever you have done so far, after the complete execution of your research, now you know whether the title which you have framed earlier, is it valid now also, or you need to rephrase it. If required, fix it. Then again, go back to the abstract. Once you finish your entire research, then only you should write your abstract, because then only you are in the position to write a quality abstract. Some people think that, okay, order is coming in beginning, so I should write the abstract before I finish my study. But how are you going to finish your abstract unless you know everything about your research? So my suggestion is that once you conclude your paper, the writing is done and you're satisfied with your research findings and everything, then only you should attempt to write your abstract, because believe me, you will be in a position to write a quality abstract in that case, because now you understand everything what has happened in your research. And then you pick up keywords which are important and also popular, so that your study gets selected when people Google or search in different databases about those keywords. Okay, so this is how you need to smartly pick up those keywords. And then comes formatting of paper. No matter how good your writing is, but if you have not done a proper formatting, okay, let's say you are not providing the space, or you're not providing the bolding of the titles, or you're not following the table style, or you're not numbering the figures or the charts which you're providing in a manuscript, or you are not formatting the paragraphs or the APA styling references which you are providing, or everywhere it is so clumsy that people are not able to even read the text what you have written. It should be very neat, clean, simple. So that's how you should finish the formatting once the entire writing is being done. All this you need to do before you are actually thinking to submit your paper. It's all about writing and also about the representation. How good your study is in terms of presentation, so that readers should not feel, oh my God, what this kind of formatting is being done, it is horrible, I can't even read it. Because if you are not professional in formatting, it actually tells a lot about the researcher, that researcher is not organized. So please be very much careful when you are completing your research about the formatting, the page margins, setup, okay, the spacing between lines or paragraphs, everything should be very much clear. And once you are done with all this, now you go for selection of an appropriate journal for publication. See that what you have done and what is the journal which actually has the best scope for your topic in their theme. Because if your theme mismatches, if your paper title or the area in which you have written the paper and the journal's area mismatches, no matter again how good is your writing or manuscript, you will face desk rejection, and they will mention that because this manuscript doesn't come under the scope of our journal. So go and check which is the appropriate journal for your manuscript. Again, it takes time. It is not if you think that I'll just simply Google and find a journal and submit my paper. No. There are more than 33,000 journals listed in the Scopus itself, and you need to choose one journal out of it. It will take time. It's a tedious process. You have to be very much careful while selecting a journal. So again, I'm telling you the difference between normal research paper publications and high index paper publications. You need to go for quality journals, check their indexing, check their abstract, check their standing, okay, on SCI website or Web of Science website, that what is the impact factor, from how many years the journal is in the Scopus or in Web of Science. Is it something predatory? All these things you need to check, and then finally select a journal for publication. And then once you have selected a journal, you will receive the guidelines on its website. You will receive a template on their website, and you need to convert your manuscript according to the style which they are asking for. Again, it can be sometimes disappointed. You might feel that, okay, I have prepared the entire manuscript and the AP 7th style, and they're asking for Harvard. Now, what do I do? If you are actually willing to publish a paper with that journal only, yes, you have to change according to their requirements. They will not compromise on any of those things. Okay, so please, you need to convert your papers into their desired template. If you don't do this, you again face desk rejection. So when you're talking about
Dr. Pasha.
Yes. Sorry?
You have 1 minute left for
Okay,
the
okay.
presentation.
I'll just quickly wind it up. So now when we are talking about writing for Scopus, so in that case, you need to see that from beginning till end, it should have a good connect, and the research should be novel in its approach. At least when you're communicating to the readers, it should be very much clear. And when we talk about literature survey, you need to tell that how serious you are, how determined you are in providing a research gap to the audience. If you are not convincing them that that research is required and I am addressing this particular problem in correct manner, then they will not read your papers. Okay, high quality pictures, table formatting, everything should be done. And the most important thing which I always tell to researchers is do what you promise. Deliver what you have promised in your abstract or in your introduction or in your objectives or methodology. Because in the end, what happens is that if you are not providing them what you have promised in your research objectives, they will be disappointed. They might not come again to read your papers. They might not cite your papers. So this is what is very much important. And the second part is connect. There should be a connect from beginning till the end, and nothing should be there which is irrelevant. So those things should be done. The flow should be continuous. You don't need to do the zigzag thing that one place you are saying something, another you are telling something else, and then there is no connect. You are confusing your audience, and then they will not like it. Okay, this is the word limit that you can write your papers. When you're talking about high quality journals, it should be a lengthy script. Too short scripts will not be appreciated. So at least from 15 to 18 pages, it should be, everything should be clear. Visibility should be very much clear. Citation should be clear. More number of references should be used, and proper formatting has to be done. So this is all I wanted to say. And these are some links which will help you to find your journals, to find appropriate journals. So you can go to Scopus website or you can go to Elsevier website. And then there are different websites which will help you to check the journal ranking or the standing, that how credible that particular journal is, what's their track record in terms of impact factor and everything. So all these things you should check once before you actually submit your papers. So these are some important links. Yeah, so this is about it from my side. I'm open to questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Farsha. That was a really insightful topic to discuss, because we have really a lot of authors here who write articles, and of course they aim for publishing their articles to high index journals, especially Scopus. So okay, we'll have a question and answer session if there's anyone who wants to ask question to Dr. Farsha. And if not, maybe we can move on to the next speaker and have the question and answer session after the last speaker. Is there any question for Dr. Farsha? Okay, Dr. Firdaus. You may ask a question.
Yes, thank you very much. I will ask on behalf of the students. They remain very silent. So I will try to highlight one core question on behalf of all the presenters here. There is a big problem in the research industry nowadays. Students are believing that they are going to publish in Scopus journal, but they are ending up with colonial journal. So how students should take care of this problem? To select the right journal so that they cannot be trapped, because some journals are asking for open access and they are paying huge amount, but after publishing they are ending up that it was a fake journal and colonial journal. So what are your viewpoints on this? Can you enlighten this?
So my suggestion is that, yes, first thing is that students are not equipped initially to take this decision at their own, that whether the journal is predatory or genuine one. So my thing is that in that case, faculty should play an important role as mentor to help students so that they are not misguided. Go to the authentic websites. For Scopus, you can go to Scopus itself, or for Web of Science, you go to the website and then check it. As I told you that if it is for a student, normally it happens that a faculty will be mentor there who will be guiding students throughout to prepare their papers. So in that case, the responsibility comes on faculty that you cross-check where student is going to publish the paper, and check the listing of the journal, and then only you allow them to go ahead, because I believe that it's not the problem with only students. So many faculty members are also not having an idea till now also that what's the difference between genuine and predatory journals. So they also get misguided. So the best way is to go to the journal website itself of Scopus or Web of Science and check the authenticity. I also told that go to the Shemago website, check their site score, rankings, whether they are in Q1 or Q4, and how much money they are charging. Okay, so there are various factors which you should check, not only one. And you should take a cumulative decision based on these factors, that how much the journal is scoring on all these parameters. If you're convinced from all the directions, then only submit your paper there.
Does that answer your question, Dr. Firdaus?
Yeah, thank you for giving me the mic again. So I would like to highlight one point, as Professor Varsha has beautifully explained what are the problems and how we can sort out these problems. But the key point in understanding the fake journal is they will ask you to submit your manuscript through email. So once they will ask you to submit the manuscript through email, so there are 100% chances that the journal is fake.
Yes.
Because good journalists will ask you to submit the manuscript online. There are step-by-step process. So yes, I want to highlight this point also. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Firdaus. Yes. Okay. Maybe you have something to say about that as well, Dr. Farsha?
No, yeah, that's the correct point. What Firdaus also has told. So that's, as I told you, that there are various parameters: designing of the website, the submission point, the editorial board, okay, the listing of the website, in the which quadrant they fall into. So all those things are there, which will actually indicate that whether it is a predatory journal or not.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Farsha, for your time and talk.
Thank you.
Yeah, we will have the next speaker, who is also our last keynote speaker for today, Professor Dr. Randa Nurmijati, SE, MTM, CPHR from Universitas Brawijaya, Indonesia. Now let me read her profile. So Professor Dr. Randa Nurmijati has been a lecturer at the Faculty of Economics and Business of Universitas Brawijaya, Malang since 1986. She completed and earned her bachelor's degree in 1985 from Universitas Brawijaya and continued her master program at the University Technology at Malaysia in 1997 and graduated from the doctoral program at the Universitas Brawijaya in 2008. She received a degree as a professor of management of Faculty of Economics and Business in Universitas Brawijaya in 2015 and became an administrator of the Association of Indonesian Management Scientists, or AIMI, from 2010 until now. She has been invited as keynote speaker in various seminars, including international conferences. She also has an extended experience in teaching courses in organizational behavior for undergraduate, master's, and doctoral students at the Universitas Brawijaya's Faculty of Economics and Business. Her research articles have been published in national and international journals also. So for Professor Dr. Randa Nurmijati, the time is yours.
Thank you very much for the chance, for me. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thanks you to conference committee for giving me the opportunity to be one of the speaker in this meeting. Okay, in this time I will present about the GIG economy, opportunity and challenges. Okay. Topic is arrangement like that. What is the GIG economy, and then advantages given by GIG economy, and then the pro and contras of GIG work, and then closing. Okay. That is about the GIG economy. What is GIG economy? GIG economy has popular since around 2008 to 2009 and developed in many countries around the world. It is about the GIG economy. GIG economy actually refers to the system used by the companies in recruiting the worker for the short-term project. The trend of the GIG economy then can be broadly understood with the worker who are free to determine the place of work and location to carry out work that is driven by often the income that has been agreed upon desired. This means that work can be done anywhere, anytime with proper services. Okay, and there is a GIG worker. What is GIG worker? GIG worker are mentioned as an independent contractor and also mentioned as an online platform worker and also as a contract from a worker and online worker, temporary worker, and so on. So many definitions about the DIG worker. And then it is about the major industry that hire DIG worker. Major industry that hire DIG worker like BNP and then Amazon and also Grab, Uber, Shopee, and so on. Here are categories that hire for freelance and DIG economy jobs that worker can do remotely. In the field of expertise of computer and IT, and also in expertise as a writing, in a writing, and then accounting and finance, in field of project management, and also in field of administrative expertise, as an education, and also as a trainer like that. Okay. And then we say about the on-demand worker. On-demand worker is someone who works for a company only when needed by company. Okay. There are many methods for hiring on-demand worker, or working as temporary work, freelance, or delivering. It's depend on the industry need about the expertise of the on-demand worker. Okay. Many companies find that new advantage through the DIG economy, such as lower the worker cost because they can hire the worker with the same quality with the permanent worker without additional allowance, like allowance for health insurance and then for pension funds and also for living cost allowance and etc. Abraham said that GIG worker has the big contribution for company in providing the new innovation for companies development. Woodcock and Graham at 2019 said about the platform economy. There are takes to further step. Platform GIG economy. Sometimes we mention also with the platform economy. The first GIG data and the algorithm revolutionary have enabled a cyber coordinated labor market, giving the employer tools to intensify, accelerate, and expand the market for contract labor. This is the at the first, and then the second is the spread of the smartphone technology has enabled the possibility of labor platform. So the GIG economy can be said as the digital revolution effect. As we know that in this time, the digital revolution is very developed very fast. And then about the advantage given by economy for the business or for the company. At first, as we are educated about the on-demand expertise. Company can get employees with certain expertise that they need in easily way. And then scaling up rapidly. Company can scaling its business quickly with in a GIG economy. And then access global talent. Company can access human resource with high talent over the world in a quickly also. And then around the clock worker, as you know that for GIG worker, some worker ready to do their job 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. Okay, so it is a benefit for company or for business because some activity in the organization or in a company can do rapidly. And then the create organization or company also can create a new business models and cost saving with a with a low cost, and this is a part of the benefits also for the company, and company can get some benefit from this situation. And then hiring and salary. Company easy to hire a worker that company need, and salary in low cost than permanent worker. Okay. And then survey data conducted by Statista and compiled by labels. So that the GIG economy is growing 3 times faster than a traditional worker. Also in Indonesia, 1/3 of the Indonesian worker are GIG worker. So GIG worker is very popular in Indonesia, like that. And then I will explain about the pros and cons of GIG work. The pros of GIG work. At the first, flexibility is about the flexibility. The most obvious GIG worker pro is flexibility. As a GIG worker, we get to close when and where you work with a client you take on, and even set your rates in some situation. And then the second is the best drive something new. GIG work is something some people do for additional income, but for other people, it is a way to test drive a new career. We can test our career. Is it easy or not? Okay, and the third is about being a GIG worker allow you to explore a passion and see if it is something more than a passing fancy without losing your primary source of the income. We can doing it together as a permanent worker and also as a GIG work. And fourth, save time and money while making business more agile. In a GIG economy, companies may less their costs linked to the resources like money and time. Money is easily saved by hiring experts, not for longer permanent duration, but for shorter project-based timeline. Then this is about the contra of the GIG work. There are 5, I mentioned 5, but actually more than 5, I think. At the first, lack of the benefits. Once you are in a business for yourself, you are in a business for yourself. You can choose when you work and when you don't work. It's like that. So it is the lack of the benefit for the GIG work. And then the third contra about the GIG works is about the burnout. Working multiple jobs or odd hours isn't for everybody. Some people find that as flexible as the work is GIG, GIG work become tiring and stressful after a while. This, I think, because very monotone sometimes what that job that we do. And then the fourth is about the loneliness. Loneliness, as what I said, that habit go away slow. Even the random complaint from a boss or a colleague is sometimes missed by the lonely individual worker in a GIG economy. In GIG economy, because we can do our job from everywhere. And then we do this job by ourselves, and we can meet with our coworker, we can meet our peer in do the job, and then sometimes we feel lonely like that, and then we feel alone. And then the fifth and the last about the contra of the GIG work is a need for more discipline and resilience. Individual worker in a GIG economy may enjoy a lot of freedom, but this freedom may also create a sense of indiscipline sometimes. It is depend on this individual discipline, I think. It is the impact of the COVID-19 on GIG economy, with all major economy going into recession and slowdown. COVID-19 has greatly hit the job market. However, in case of GIG workers, some are struggling to find work, while others are seeing job opportunities increase. Delivery driver or those who pick up food order for online platforms such as Big Basket and so on have seen a demand and as a customer of buying call for the homes rather than venturing of the physical stores. Popular GIG economy in Indonesia like Gojek, Grab, Maxim, and also Shopee Food. Yeah. And as a challenge that the GIG economy worker may face is they are typically not registered with the government and regulatory agencies, making it difficult to answer that the government help will reach the GIG worker like that. Okay, and the last, as a closing, seeing the rapid development of the GIG economy around the world, it is necessary for countries to have a preparedness and anticipation, for example, in terms of the protection for the worker, as well as the availability of digital infrastructure. Considering the GIG worker work on a digital platform, quite different from the traditional freelance. And then, as we know that a decent working condition are really important, because the most digital economy workers are exposed to the health damaging the precarious employment condition characteristic of the contemporary worker class. That is what Montana said 2018. Okay, I think that's enough from me. Thank you very much for the attention to all of the audience. Okay.
Thank you very much, Professor Nurmijati, for the excellent topic for your material today. I'm sure that we all know what GIG economy is, and you have explained the in-depth knowledge about this matter. Does anyone have any question for Professor Nurmijati regarding this topic on GIG economy? Please use raise hand feature on Zoom and we will unmute you. Or you can just type out your question and we will read out for Professor Nurmijati. Okay, because there is no question for Professor Nurmijati, maybe I want to ask a question for Professor Nurmijati. I see that you've explained the pros and cons of the GIG work. So I'm quite curious myself whether, in your opinion, which one is more beneficial for maybe young adults or maybe adults to which one is more beneficial, whether it's the GIG work or the just like the work normally.
Okay, thank you very much for the question, Mbak Anissa tuh. Mbak Anissa, okay. The more beneficial this GIG economy is for young worker, I think, because young worker very fluent in IT, because as we know that GIG economy is we mentioned also as platform economy, like that. And for the human resources that have very fluent in IT, it is easy for them to get the opportunity in this GIG economy. Okay, thank you.
Do you think that maybe GIG economy can develop to something bigger in the future, considering young adults are closely related to this, and you said yourself that they are more likely to engage in GIG economy than adults?
Yeah, so many opportunity for young people, I think, in a GIG economy, but it's mean adult people also have a chance here, but the bigger is for the bigger beneficial is for young people, I think. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you very much, Professor Nurmijati, because we are kind of limited for the time. If anyone wants to ask questions to our keynote speakers, for our 5 keynote speakers, we will, you can ask in the chat room, or maybe chat us through the WhatsApp group, and we will deliver the questions to each of the keynote speaker that we have. Okay, thank you, Professor Nurmijati, for your presentation. And we'll be moving on to the next session. which is the presentation section. And if the keynote speakers want to maybe discuss some stuff with, or maybe like the presenters want to ask questions to the keynote speakers, you may have their emails so that you can contact the keynote speakers directly and have discussion with them. Okay, and that concludes the discussion with our keynote speakers today with their astounding and amazing presentations. Thank you again, keynote speakers, for sharing those insights with us today. Hopefully their knowledge can be inspiration for all of us here